there. Thanks for hanging out with us. All right.
Hi, I'm Paul Ponce. I'm the manager of the observatory here at the Sun River Nature Center and Observatory. Thank you for coming out. If you don't know who we are, you probably do because you're here, but we are a private nonprofit educational organization. We are independent of the resort and the homeowners here, but they are great supporters of us. So we thank the resort and the homeowners here. But we are an independent nonprofit, and our mission is education. And this is just one of our series of education Twilight talks that we do year round. But just earlier today, there was homeschool groups in here. Last week, there was a little planetarium in here. At the observatory, we have school groups continually going through our observatory. And then offsite, we take our planetarium, we take our telescopes to schools all over Central Oregon. And that is kind of what we do, besides being open here for visitors to see the wildlife, the botanical garden, and the observatory during the day where we look at the sun. So anyway, thank you. Let me introduce Dr. Robert Grossfeld, who is responsible for much of the observatory out there. Bob here helped develop so much of it from when it was just this little building here to what it is today. We really appreciate Bob coming here and doing this for us. And Bob is now teaching up at Central Oregon Community College and various places. He can tell you a little bit more about all the things that COCC has him doing. But I'll hand it over to Bob.
So it's kind of fun being back here in the Posey building doing programs. I've spent a lot of time, as Paul mentioned. I started here in 1990 as a volunteer, and I'm currently, like Paul mentioned, I'm instructor over at COCC, and I work with a bunch of other organizations, including Cascade Astronomy and Rocketry Academy, which is also a nonprofit doing educational programming. So I'm pretty excited about what we've been doing, and certainly excited about what Sun River Nature Center and Observatory has been doing for all these years. We're very fortunate here living in Central Oregon to have a jewel like this available to us. There's a lot of people that have made it possible. What I always like to bring up is the second turn thrift store, make it possible for this place to exist. And those folks over there are amazing, and I'm sure they got snowed on. But yeah, oh, for the turn. Okay, well, yeah. So anyway, lots of great donations come in, all the telescopes, all the cool stuff. And when Paul asked me to do this talk, I was like, wow, what should I talk about? And the first thing that came to mind, believe it or not, was Jupiter, because Jupiter's in the sky right now, and it's a big passion of mine. And I was like, okay. And then the next thing I came up with was to talk about the history of the observatory. And they were saying, well, how about a dark sky? And I go, oh, dark sky, that's good too. So I'm pretty excited about all these topics. And I have to, since I'm here and I have you guys in front of me, I have to show you a couple old pictures. If my remote works. Uh-oh, come on. This could be interesting. Let's see if I can get it to move. Let's try that button. There we go. I found a button to push. This is 1990. This is the observatory. Hopefully that bar goes away. Go away, bar. No, don't do that. Oh, don't do that. Okay, here we go. This is the observatory in 1990. You're gonna make our bar go away.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do that?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
We would be lost without our tech.
It's here somewhere. Yeah, pressure's on. It should be able to drag though.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. That's good enough. That's fine. I can live with that. You guys can live with that? Yeah. Okay. So this is the observatory. When I moved to Sun River, 1990, I came from California. I was a student at the University of California at Santa Cruz, and I decided I was going to open up a business in Sun River. And at the same time, there was a guy named Don Barnes who was a volunteer for many, many years. He was up here working on this roof and putting it together. And so this is what the observatory looked like when I got here. I was super excited. And of course, I had a telescope, and I went to the manager at the time and asked him if I could um, help out. And this is a picture of Larry Pratt. For those of you who have been here a long time, might remember Larry. Larry passed away in this last year or so. But this is SNCO, or Sun River Nature Center and Observatory's solar viewing. This is way different than what we do here today, but this is actually a 12.5 inch telescope, which is technically owned by the college, the COCC, that was put in here. This is actually Larry's telescope that he would bring in, and we had a couple solar filters that we pop on there. And yeah, that was what we had. That's what we did. And then over the years, we had people drive up and say, you know, I still remember a guy popping up with his little Land Rover and popping up in the back. Hey, you want this telescope? We're like, yeah. So 8 inch telescope. We used that for a long time. And then another guy showed up, a guy named Dennis Martin. He popped in and donated his telescope. So we had 3 telescopes that we had for our evening programs. And and just so you know, before the dome was actually put in here, we would actually take the telescope from the Nature Center, roll it on out there and put it out there and let people look through it. So quite the history. That's for another program. Today we're really here to talk about dark sky. And so let's talk a little bit about that. If I can get this to work. Oh, there we go. So we're going to talk about the International Dark Sky Association a little bit about saving dark skies, a little bit about the history of Sun River and dark skies, because I think that's really important. Sun River is very unique in that department. So we're going to talk about that quite a bit. But we have to get a little basis to work from. Um, I grew up in a place, like I mentioned, down in Bay Area, California. I grew up with 5 stars. One of them was probably a planet. But anyway, 5 stars was about all I could see. And I was used to that. Then we'd go to Lake Tahoe or something like that, and we could actually see stars. Oh, wow, what's that? And it's really becoming interesting. And I know the staff here at the Nature Center gets this all the time. They come to the observatory on a dark night, the Milky Way is overhead, and they're all like, what's that? You know, we here in Central Oregon, we're used to seeing the Milky Way, but others are not. And so one of the things that makes the Nature Center so unique and why it's so important for us educators is for people to be able to see something that they normally would not see, whether it's a planet, a galaxy, but just using your eyes to enjoy the sky and seeing the night sky. This is the Earth at night. We're going to talk quite a bit about this. This is Disney World. This is Disneyland. That's San Francisco, Sacramento, Portland, Seattle. That's Central Oregon right there. I can barely point it out. We're very fortunate. Last weekend, there was a big conference in New York called Northeast Astronomy Forum, where all the geeky telescope people like me get together and they go look at telescopes and all hang out. Well, that happens in New York, the worst possible place to do any kind of viewing. So, but that's where they go because that's where all the people are. So you can kind of get an idea where people live. Oregon is one of the few places left that is still dark sky. We're very fortunate to have the ability to see the night sky. I always joke around with my friends that live down in the Bay Area because they can't see anything. They literally cannot see a thing. And it's not getting any better, unfortunately. Let's talk about light pollution. Light pollution is the easiest pollution to solve if you just flick a switch. You just flick the switch to solve the light pollution problem, right? So this is something that is really kind of a problem is that people don't really understand what light pollution is. And recently, especially in the last 10 years or so, light pollution is becoming more in the forefront, and people are understanding a little bit more about it. And it's amazing when you think about someplace like Sun River, where in the 60s, when they developed this place, light pollution was important to them. They wanted to have strict lighting ordinances in place to protect the night sky. Way before Sun River Nature Center was here, way before the observatory was here, the developers knew that they wanted to keep nature nature. And it was just an amazing thing. We took advantage of that. The observatory here is benefits from all those years of thinking about things like that. Sky glow is a big thing. I know it's a running joke. I wish I could say I invented it, but it's not true. But when we're out at the observatory and we see the glow from Ben, we call that aurora borealis, the glow from Ben, right? The sky glow. and we can see the city. Bend is not that big, but we can see it. Lapine is growing. We've got to be concerned about that because we want to make sure that glow doesn't take over. And we're going to talk more about some of the ordinances that are taking place and how things work. But sky glow is very important, and we see that a lot. So how many of you are from Portland? How many from Seattle? So you know what I'm talking about, right? This is the glow in the sky. And yeah, so we have to, we'll talk a little bit more about that. The other thing that's important is like my neighbors have really bad, I don't live in Sun River, I should mention that I live just south of Sun River, but my neighbors have these really bad lights that I have to go over there and tell them to turn off because it ruins my night vision, right? So if I want to bring my telescope out, they have to turn off their light on their shop. Light trespass has become a big thing. Some of the new ordinances now are really attracting to light trespass. In other words, light from your house going on to someone else's property. This is a big thing in Sisters right now, Sisters, Oregon. It's a big thing in other places, and it's becoming more and more of a discussion that's taking place because everyone's under the impression that the more light you have, the safer you are. Not really true. Good lighting does really, really well to protect you and your stuff from being, played with, shall we say, not appropriately played with. So some of the consequences that we talk about light pollution, there's more than just us geeky astronomer people, looking at the night sky. There are some other impacts that we have to be worried about, and some of those are real important. Of course, the Nature Center folks can certainly fill you in on a lot of this stuff, but I always like talking about sea turtles. No, we don't have sea turtles in Sun River. We should have sea turtles in Sun River, but we don't. But it is one of the things that's big in Florida. Sea turtles are hatched and they go towards the lights of the condos that people have their lights on the ocean. And that's the way they go. So now that they're trying to educate people to, it's okay to have the lights, but turn them off, put them on timers, that kind of thing. I do have some really cool harmful wildlife brochures you're welcome to take with you. I don't know if I have enough for everyone, but certainly I have some interesting things about that. And it's really a thing about wildlife that's a big deal. Birds. I was so excited that someone I think it was Nextdoor or Facebook or one of those goofy things, said something about turn your lights off in Central Oregon for migration. I thought that was so killer that someone was using social media to help spread that word to help save birds. Now, here in Central Oregon, once again, light pollution is not such a big thing, but in New York City, it's a big thing. Birds run into buildings all the time. They're trying more and more to get people to turn off light or put them on timers so it won't affect migration. Bird migration is a big thing because birds get confused by the light and move in the wrong direction. Trees, that's another big thing. And used to talk about this from the gas stations, and this isn't so true anymore. But you got one gas station here, one gas station here, and the one with the brightest lights was the one you drive into to get gas because it's the brightest and it seems the safest. Well, that light does harm the foliage of trees. They lose their leaves quicker and they bud under the artificial light. So this is something else that is very, very important. But the biggest thing, and I think the easiest way to get people on board with light pollution is money, energy waste, right? So nowadays it's all about going to LED, but about 3 to 7 million, $1 billion are used for unnecessary lights that don't do anything except be on, and that's a real problem. It's also a waste of CO2 from unnecessary lighting that doesn't need to be there. Human health is a big thing. This is kind of a big topic for a lot of folks. Melatonin, that kind of thing. The effects of lighting is something that people have been studying for some time. And this is another one of these concerns that we have to think about with artificial light. And one of the things we think about is like, kids today, they go out and play and then they have to be home before it gets dark. And then they get into a lighted building, that kind of thing. Well, the idea of sleep cycles and things like that have been affected over time with artificial lighting. And of course, in the United States, the heritage of dark skies has been a bigger and bigger thing. And one of the things that has been very impressive from my point of view is the parks, the state parks and the federal parks have really pushed nighttime viewing programs. It's a really one of the most popular programs that you like Yosemite. We have one of our volunteers here at the Nature Center that goes down to Grand Canyon area and does programs. This is a great way of sharing with the public how important light pollution is and the awe of the universe. And so this is something that has been around for a long time, and it's kind of coming back. It's becoming more and more of a thing. So it's instead of just hanging out at the campfire and doing marshmallows, it's go look at the telescope. Prineville State Park, our close park here, is one of the places that has observatory type programs or viewing programs that bring in public. And of course, activities are a big thing for enjoying the night sky. But I always like to talk about the potential stalker because that's where everyone gets concerned about lighting. Everyone thinks you need to have tons of light on to prevent, the stalker from finding you. But it turns out lighting is really key in how it reflects on different things. When you have lights that are not shielded, it actually spills lights everywhere. So it's actually an advantage for a burglar or a stalker or something like that. Just a simple way of blocking out the light makes a huge difference in what you can see. And so this has become a really big thing of the IDA, the International Dark Sky Group, because they want to promote safe, quality lighting that works well for protecting you and your loved ones and also protecting the night sky from being destroyed from lights that point out everywhere. This is kind of give you an idea from 1970 to 2025 in the United States what light pollution is doing. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this in a minute. But once again, if you're, here's Disney World, once again, Disneyland, Sacramento, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, that's Central Oregon right there. It's grown a lot, really grown a lot. When I first moved here in 1990, it was way different population numbers than it is today. So it's a big, big, big difference in what it is. And I hate this statistic. This one bothers me the most. Only 2 out of 10 people on Earth can see the Milky Way where they live. Think about that. So I was teaching today at the college in Redmond, and I asked this question of students. I had 24 students in my class, and I asked the question, this is Redmond, just north of here, how many of you have seen the Milky Way? So I'm going to ask you the same question in a minute. The answer from them was out of the 24 students, 14 of them have seen the Milky Way. And they live in a place where you can see it, they just probably haven't looked. So I just out of curiosity, show of hands, how many of you have seen the Milky Way? Yeah, see, I got a good group here. This is good. So, and one of the things that 99% of the United States and Europe live under light polluted skies. This is a statistic from 2025. Now, we're gonna talk a little bit about what NASA's doing in trying to understand the changes in lighting, and we'll talk about that in a minute. It's interesting that there is a difference between the United States and Europe in that respect. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. This is a picture of an observatory in Los Angeles. Yay. This light pollution is a problem here. But when there's an earthquake, what happens? Power goes out. The number one phone call to the sheriff and to Griffin Observatory was, what's that thing in the sky? Because most of the people in the Hawthorne earthquake that when it took place did not know that what that was because they had not seen it. So if you think about that for a second, if you were to go out and all of a sudden someone took away your Milky Way, you'd probably notice it. But these people had never seen it before. So this is something that is kind of unique and surprising. But all of us can make a difference. It's all about educating folks and letting people know about the night sky. Just coming to a program here at the observatory or doing a program during the day at the observatory helps educate folks about what light pollution is all about and what we can do to solve it. It has a simple solution. It's all about lighting design. One of the cool things that's taking place is a lot of counties, including our Deschutes County, which we'll talk about in a minute, are taking huge steps forward in protecting our night vision and protecting the night sky. It's in everyone's best benefit. First, it saves money. Yay. It protects the night sky. That's yay for someone like me. But also, it just doesn't waste energy, which totally makes sense in today's world. Shielding on lights is very key, and we're going to talk about Sun River in particular, but this is in general. This is actually bad, and this is covered up. As you can see, it's good because it's shielded down, but lights pointing down are the key thing. And that's how simple it is. Point lights down, shield lights, don't let light. No one is coming from space to interfere with you. I know there's a worry about some aliens coming, but whatever. They're going to find you. If they're here, they're going to find you no matter what. So whatever. And color temperature. This is the big thing in today's world. We got these lights in here that are set at a certain color temperature. I just did some new lights in my shop, and I have to admit, I went like I'm getting older, so I had to go a little this direction, more like daylight, so I could actually see a little bit better, read a little easier. But generally speaking, outside things like that, this color is a little bit easier. The 3000 Kelvin is a little bit easier. And this is cool because today's world, we got these cool LEDs that we can adjust and we can change. An individual LED can actually do multiple color temperatures. So LEDs are making a big deal, doing two things. One is controlling light, lowering costs, and that's really important. So lighting ordinances are the big way. We see this a lot in Central Oregon. Sisters, Sun River, Tethro, a few of the other organizations. We'll talk about that, but that's the big thing. But I do want to talk about Sun River because, well, quite frankly, I'm here. So, and most of you are familiar with Sun River. This is the circle out front. I think that's still I think that's the old circle thing. But I want to talk about Sun River because in what was it? No, it's actually 2020, I guess. We were actually got involved here at the Nature Center and the Observatory in getting Sun River as a designated dark sky community. And we actually succeeded. We were the first ones in the state. And I have to admit, it was easy. And the reason it was easy was because it was already done. The early development of Sun River protected the night sky. They did things smart. We didn't have to reinvent the wheel. We didn't have to go to someone's door and go, hey, you need to change your light. Those ordinances were already in place, and that makes a huge thing. This is actually Sun River Village Mall, if you're not familiar with it. All the lights are pointing downwards, no light pointing up at all. This is actually one of the newer buildings in Sun River. I think the Fold's not there anymore. It's the Campfire, I think now, the pizza place. But the lights are underneath the eave pointing down, and it makes it much more efficient for protecting night sky. These are some of the other new buildings. These are buildings 25. This is I don't know what stores are in there now, but this is Sun River Books and Music right here. And once again, no light pointing up, and everything is covered by an eave. So this is something that was Sun River did. So when I had to get pictures for IDA, I didn't have to go knock on anyone's door saying you need to change lighting. I was able to take pictures of existing lighting. Sun River Lodge, the resort. Boy, those guys, I mean, these light fixtures are from like the 70s. They're homemade. They made them. And there's a bunch of them. They've been doing some redesign over there. You probably noticed over the years. It's kind of grown a little bit, but they've used some of the existing old lighting. This is over by Great Hall. And these light fixtures are wonderful for protecting the night sky. And you can see here, this is by the tennis court. This is by a homestead room in Great Hall. And you can see here the light pointing down and really cool design. I believe that is hail damage from the bend on it, but I don't hold me to that. I was going to inspect it to see, but yeah. And this is looking at the Great Hall complex. Once again, light pointing down, nothing pointing up. They've done a great job over there. And some of that is Sun River Owners Association, but the resort has really played along and really well lighting that you can actually walk around at night and see where you're going. I know when my mom used to come visit me here in Sun River, she lives at Touchmark, for those of you at Touchmark. When she used to come, she could actually see where she was walking because the lighting was so good at the lodge. So it was one of those things that makes it kind of cool. And this is the front of the Great Hall. Once again, under eaves, lights pointing down. This one right here is a little annoying. It's pointing up. There's a little walkway light lighting up a tree. I don't believe that light's there anymore. And no, I did not take it. To just Sun River, Mid-State Electric and Sun River had traffic, or you can call them traffic lights, or street lights. This is the old design. This is the old ones before they went to the new LEDs. And this is actually, we got this one before they tore them down. And I will also say, I have to mention Don Barnes again. Don Barnes was responsible for us not having one of these out in front of the nature center. I don't know if you ever noticed it in Sun River, every crossing has a street light except one place, the driveway into the nature center. Just so you know. The new ones are all LED, and there was actually some little outcry about when they put these things. This is Mid-State Electric, our local electrical co-op. They put these things in. They were a little bright. You may notice that in Sun River, there are some that are different color temperature, and they're slowly starting to adjust those. But one of the things that Mid-State and SROA made possible is some really cool shielding. So they went in and actually, this is in front of the fire station, but they put shielding around some of these fixtures to help protect the night sky and not have light spill out everywhere. So kind of cool. And this is looking at the new fire department, and you can see the light just pointing down. So hard to get a good night picture that you can show on slides. What about here, where we are? I will say that they've upgraded their lighting here a little bit. So these are a little old, a little dated, but it's the same idea. All the lights leading into the observatory have always been covered so you cannot see the bulbs, at least the old ones. Now, I was joking around when you guys were first coming in here with some of you when we showed this first picture of the observatory. You may not have noticed, but they were all wood boxes. So a lot of the old homes in Sun River have wood boxes built around their light bulbs. We did too here in Sun River, and birds would build nests in there. It was kind of a mess, but anyway. And this is Paul's truck, if anyone's interested. I did not scratch your truck, just so you know. But these lights were all covered and pointing down, no light pointing up. And I did notice they just replaced the fence out here. I was walking in. So the lights are the same, new fence. But once again, all lights pointing down, bulbs cannot be seen. So this is a great addition to the lighting here. It's in Sun River. And like I mentioned, on August 3rd, 2020, Sun River was designated the first international dark sky community in Oregon. Yay. We were super stoked about that. I know that's great. 2020, that was like almost 6 years ago. It's hard to believe.
At the airport.
Yeah, so kind of interesting. But since then, Oregon has really moved forward. We have other communities here locally that are trying to do the same thing, including Sisters, City of Sisters, Tethro, which is a development outside of Bend, Aspen Lakes over by Sisters is a golf course area. So there are other groups working forward. Now, they don't have the luxury that we did because we had SROA, the Owners Association, and the original developers. They were on it. So, but this year, 2026, Deschutes County has changed their rules. So if I'm going to build a new building in Deschutes County, which includes Lapine, includes Redmond, you have to meet certain ordinances, lighting ordinances, which is a huge, huge thing, a huge step forward. So does it cost more for the developer? No, because the development now can use less expensive lighting, and it's built into the original plan. They don't have to do a retrofit. So it's a huge move forward. So the county, our Deschutes County, is taking a step forward. I'm expecting to see Crook and Jefferson County to kind of jump on board, and we usually follow along with what Deschutes County is doing. But Deschutes County is growing at a very quick rate. And so the ordinances are not perfect, just like SROA ordinances are not perfect, but at least it's a step in the right direction as far as moving lighting ordinances in a development. So this actually, December 23rd was 2025. And so there's a next step for 27. So hopefully we keep moving forward in the right direction. I got to sit in a couple of meetings with the Deschutes County Commissioners on the thought process of their lighting ordinances, and I was really impressed with their at least willing to listen to what could have been just a bunch of astro geeks asking for good lighting, but they understood the advantage, not just from the standpoint of us astro folks, but also dollars and cents and wildlife. So I think they got it. Um, but of course, it's not just the populated counties. One of the things that is happening is the Oregon Outback at the International Dark Sky Sanctuary. This is huge, biggest plot in the country is going to be considered dark sky. And I was going to put another slide in. I totally blew this out, but I totally was going to put another slide in because the city of Antelope. How many of you have been to Antelope? The antelopes are out in the middle of nowhere. They actually are doing some dark sky stuff. They actually have a resort there that's dark sky. So here we are, Central Oregon Visitors Association, promoting dark sky communities in Central Oregon. And antelope is one of it. This is 2.5 million acres. Give you an idea of a map. Deschutes County is right about there. That's Deschutes County. This is what's underway, and this is the planned expansion. So this is 9.7 million acres. That's a lot of land. That's a lot of land to be dark sky. So one of the things that we're hoping for is Oregon will be leading the way in this dark sky developments, and it's kind of neat to see this happening. So I did mention that, of course, what is happening today. So I have this picture from 2015. Now this is NASA stuff, so we'll kind of do a little descriptions here. This is really what most of us are concerned about is the United States, and this is once again that area there, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle. And you can see the East Coast is pretty well developed. Europe, you pick your favorite place. India, anywhere there's people, right? So one of the things that NASA has been doing is they've been doing surveys to see how much of the night sky is changing. And NASA in 2015 was doing certain things with satellites to kind of look down on the Earth and kind of map things out. Now there's something called, make sure I get the right name, it's NASA's Black Marble, and they're researching how much change there is worldwide. They're using satellites and they're analyzing this data. And this is 2025. And the increase, and it's hard to tell from the diagram, so I wrote it in there, is about 10%. Now, this is somewhat misleading because Black Marble, this research project that they're doing, doesn't detect LED as well as quartz incandescent and halogen lighting. So it's not perfectly accurate. They're still working out the bugs. But what's really interesting in this research is that Europe seems to be dimming. The United States seems to be getting brighter. They are ahead of us in their ability to point lights down, LED transitions, that kind of stuff. So they're a little bit ahead of us, especially on the industrial. But places that are developing, like Africa and things like that, are being populated and getting more light. So that's increasing the glow that we see. And the same thing is true with India and some of the other developing countries. So we're not there yet, but we're heading in the right direction. What's really cool is we have the technology to get us there. And so it's implementing that technology on a worldwide basis to be able to get to a point where we can start dimming things down. Once again, there's no reason to light the sky. Nothing up there dangerous, as far as we know. And so it's a simple way of educating people on how to cover lights and make things work a little better. One of the other things I'm going to briefly talk about, we have a few minutes here to go, what you may not think about light pollution, but us geeky astronomers kind of do. One of the things that you may have heard of is like Starlink satellites, things like that. Those are really annoying for astrophotographers, these little lines going across the sky. But there's a lot of space debris that reflects light. Remember, satellites and debris reflect light. Stars emit light. When you look at Jupiter and Venus tonight when it's clear, those are reflected light from our sun. And so that's something we understand, but we don't need more stuff to reflect light from. So light pollution from satellites and space debris is something we're aware of. And yes, space debris is growing. We're concerned about that for a lot of different reasons, not just light pollution, but things hitting each other and stuff like that. One of the ones that just drives me crazy, and you may not have heard of this, so I thought I'd bring it up. How many have heard of Reflect Orbital? This is an LA company. This is the guys that want to put up like 44,000 mirrors in the sky and shine down on solar panels at night to power solar panels or to grow crops. They want to control the sun. This sounds like a sci-fi movie, right? So the Dark Sky International is really against this thing, and they were supposed to launch this month. I tried to look up before I came in here to see if that was happening. It doesn't look like it is. They did get like $20 million, so they've got some funding behind them. But this is a really interesting thing. This is a way to change the way we do things on planet Earth. And the idea is that, your company could say, I want light from 9 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. on my solar panel so I can generate more power. So we'll see what happens. This is the impact on wildlife would be huge, right? Impact on just the community around would be huge. So we'll see how this transpires. But of course, for us astrophotography people, this is actually Starlink. And this is Lowell Observatory in Arizona, and you get an idea of Josh's picture here. What the sky trails look like when you just leave your camera lens open. Now, it is true that me as an astro geek and I want to take pictures, I can take software and get rid of the streaks. No question about it. But I shouldn't have to. And this is something that's kind of cool. Now, I will admit that when I do public programs, and I know the folks out here at the observatory do this, when the International Space Station's flying over, we point it out because it's cool. But Starlinks are getting a little out of hand. Now, I will give them some credit, SpaceX. They are building satellites darker, so they're less reflective. So it's getting better, but it's not perfect. And they are moving in the right direction. So they are addressing the need for changes on this. So we'll see how that all plays out. So I should mention Dark Sky Association is not a bunch of astronomers like me. It's really about a group of people that want to protect the night sky and promote responsible outdoor lighting, which we all can do at home. So I don't want you to go over to your neighbor's house, knock on the door and say, hey, fix that light. But at least you can get them some educational material and you can send them to the IDA and that kind of thing to get better lighting products. Then they have a big list. And a lot of them you can get at Home Depot. It's not something you have to buy from them. So it's not one of those deals. But we here in Central Oregon, we got it good. We're very fortunate. Does anyone know what this is? Where this is? I will give you a hint. I mentioned it once.
Pineville.
Where?
Pineville.
Prineville Reservoir. Yeah, this is you can actually see the Milky Way in the water. It's better, but yeah, the Milky Way and Prineville Reservoir. Water level's low. That's a drag. This is from about 5, 6 years ago now. So it's a little ways back. But Prineville, like I mentioned, is a dark sky state park. There's another one called Cotton Canyon out towards Portland, eastern part of the state. Is another dark sky location. So state of Oregon has done a great job of promoting those dark sky communities. And I have to show a couple pictures. I said I would show a couple pictures that I took. Okay, so these are only fair. Anyone know where this is? Well, it's a dead giveaway. This is a comet up here, by the way, if you're wondering what that is. We have wonderful dark sky here. Sun River is beautiful. The observatory here is a absolute jewel, not just here in Central Oregon. People from all over the world come here and are amazed with our dark sky. It's just a very fabulous place. And the Milky Way is spectacular. When it's good, it's good. And one of the things that, like I mentioned, the Aurora Borealis, it's a great educational piece to be able to talk about the light globe from Bend and how that works. So it's an educational part of what the mission that we do here in Sun River and throughout Central Oregon. I do want to end with one of the last pieces here. We are going to be putting together the Cascade Astronomy Festival in October of this coming year. We got public star parties, we got lectures, we got dark sky viewing, which will actually be in Brothers, Oregon. If you've never been to Brothers, it really is nobody there. And we're going to do some observatory tours with some of the local observatories, some solar viewing. We'll have a swap meet in Marketplace. So this is going to be coming up. You'll be able to check out the Cascade Astronomy website to get more information on that. But I thought I would end there. I've taken most of my time up and be sure happy to answer some questions. I do have some handouts and material, and I do have these cool little stickers. Don't put this on my car when you leave, though. Stars up, lights down. So if you're helping to take those, they'll be out at the observatory too. So once again, thank you for coming. And the next Twilight talk, I believe, is May 3rd Thursday of May, whatever date that is. So that will be a program coming up next. So thank you again for coming out today. Appreciate it. To answer any questions, yes.
Just a quick one. Is that a planet?
Oh, I'm supposed to tell everyone it's Venus, but it's not. It's a reflection on the camera lens. Yeah, this is not Venus. Yeah, I'm supposed to say. See, you asked me
It
that.
would have been a crescent.
It would have been a crescent. Yes, yeah. So it's not Venus. Yes.
Years ago, I read in the paper that they were Bend, the city of Bend was looking into doing purple light bulbs.
They-
Happened to that?
So, and actually the circle at Reed Market, right in front of, Touchmark, actually has one purple and one on, there's another one on Century Drive. So they did experiment with it, but they kind of went away from that color temperature. So they're slowly going, compromising from the 5,000 that they started back down. So they're updating their lights, but the purple lights were not gonna work for them. Yes, yeah, and there are some still in Bend. Those are the ones that come to mind because I always drive through there when I'm going through there. So those are always like a purple light. There's none of those at the college anymore. They got rid of them. Yes.
About the airport, there's a beacon.
Yeah, so the beacon, um, there's funny stories about the beacon. So the beacon only comes on when they key it. It doesn't go all night. So an airplane has to be flying in and they key it and the beacon and the runway lights come on. So it's not on consistently. Now, that doesn't mean it's not sometimes broken, because that's happened. And it also, us, once again, astronomers here at the observatory will sit there and say, that's our seeing indicator. If it's showing lots of smoke and fog, we know the seeing isn't very good. If we don't see the beacon going through the sky, the seeing is really good. But the beacon is, I can see that from where I live, which is, out by where you are, south of Sun River. So it is a safety device that they use, but it is only supposed to come on when planes are landing. They key it with their key. The runway lights, the same thing. So if you ever notice that sometimes the runway lights are on in Sun River and sometimes they're not, that's why. And I'm hoping, I just went out there before I came here because I had to go look at the elk. Did you guys see the elk on the way in? The elk are hanging out there. So I'm hoping the elk aren't on the runway when the planes are landing because that would be bad. But yeah, that's what the beacon. Yes.
Some sort of rules about what people are allowed to put in space, like you mentioned before, like they can just launch satellites and mirrors and whatever, like are there any kind of rules in this?
Or satellites?
Yeah.
Um,
SpaceX or any, is there any, you just have enough money, you can put something in space?
yeah, so there is no, and this is a great question. This is why the orbital people are up in arms about it. Because what is limiting them from doing that? Putting a bunch of mirrors in the sky? What is limiting other countries from putting satellites in the sky that affect other people? And there's kind of an understanding with the international part of the UN, United Nations, but no one's really paying attention. And so it's going to be something down the road, in particularly the ESA, the European Space Agency. They are wanting to go up and capture space junk and bring it back down so it doesn't hit the planet. So that's part of their governmental controls that they're trying to build. But getting countries that are doing satellites all on board, especially in today's world, is a little tough. And hopefully it will work out. Now, that said, the one place that everyone seems to willing to work together with NASA and ESA and the Russians and everything is the International Space Station. So with all the problems we have politically with all these countries and Russia being included in that, it is the one place where it seems like mankind wants to work together. So I do believe in the long run that nations of the world will come together and work together for space exploration, satellite control, that kind of stuff, because it's in everyone's best interest. It's also saving people money. So that I think that will come. It's not there yet. Yes.
Can you put the slide up again about the event in Brothers and
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So this will be popped up on our website. It's going to be a week-long thing. Most of it's going to be at COCC. We're going to have some stuff here. We're going to have some stuff at Worthy. How many of you been to Worthy? Yay. So we'll do some stuff at Worthy. The dark sky viewing will be in Brothers. The observatory tours, we have some wonderful observatories to go visit, including the one right here. Solar viewing will be in probably in Old Mill District and places like that. So it'll be public access. Yeah, and there'll be some public star parties that will be accessible for people who use telescopes. Yes.
Are like lit tennis courts and pickleball courts and stuff a problem?
So they're not if the lights are pointing down. Now, I wouldn't want to view right next to one, but if the lights are pointing down, as far as light pollution, it's not a problem. What they've done a great job in Bend with is they've put them on timers. And this is true at the baseball fields too. They're not just keeping these lights on where they used to. So now they're using timers at a certain time And I believe in Bend now, 10 o'clock in the summer is the cutoff time for lighting for most of that. So tennis courts and pickleball courts, we have some here in Sun River, and I don't think those are lit though. Yeah, I don't think so. But yeah, Bend, they're on that. It's part of the lighting ordinance. Yeah, timers are key. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much. There's still some more food over there. I have some handouts. Thanks for everyone online for hanging out with us, and hopefully you could hear everything okay. Thanks. If you have any questions, you can email me, and my email is not showing up, but it's just bob@cascadeastronomy.org. Okay. I think we got through that okay.